Hi, I'm Jay Lucas.
And I'm Karen Lucas.
And welcome to the Sunshine Report. You know, we got such a terrific topic this week. I think you're going to really love it. It's all about neighbors helping neighbors. And it's so true. You know, you always want to develop these relationships with your neighbors who can be great people. And you never really know when you're going to need them, too.
That's true. That's true. You know, could be going to have a baby and need your neighbor to come over and help, or you know, you need a babysitter just because you can't find the babysitter and you have to be somewhere and they come over to help you, right? Or you know, neighbors do something really special, and that is when families are in need, the neighbors that get together and they make meals for families. You know, I remember when I was going through cancer, and the neighbors all brought so much, I want to say happiness, because you know they brought food
Support,
and they brought
warmth, support.
Yeah, and conversation, and the families felt so warm because of that, and it was such a gracious and wonderful and kind.
I can really identify with that, and you know there is that flip side of it too.
Yeah.
So they're helping you or us, but at the same time you get a lot of joy out of helping your neighbor.
Absolutely.
You just you want to be as thoughtful as you can. They may have some need, or maybe it's not a need. Maybe it's just a friendly thing you can do, a social thing, you know, where you can say, hey, let's have some fun. Let's go over and knock on the door at our neighbors and see what they're up to, and spontaneous things happen that can be really, really cool.
Well, also, you know, those neighborhood parties, right, where you have the block parties, right, the little kid races that you might have, the bicycle races, the little carnivals that you have with the kids. But it's all about the neighbors coming together and having a great time together. Sometimes I think that got lost in our neighborhoods, right? I mean, growing up, that was part of
that's part of being a kid, right?
Right.
I remember so distinctly being in the neighborhood with the kids,
Yes.
the other kids. So what are we going to do after school? Well, go over to the neighbors and find out where maybe we're going to get a game of baseball, or we're going to get a game of football, or maybe we're just going to mess around and ride bikes. You know.
Well, sometimes if you had woods around, you might, you know, the boys go in and play army, and the girls go and play with their dolls, right? Or you know, then you end up having little bike races, or right. It was just such a great time to be in a neighborhood. And sometimes if you don't have the neighborhood, but you have an area or a community where you know you come together, and a lot of times that happens through the kids in school, or it could be a sports activity that you play. If you don't have kids, so you know you become part of that neighborhood activity, and a lot of people are doing that really fun thing.
Here's an idea. An idea. So you know, in a lot of cases, you may be in a neighborhood, but you don't really know your neighbors.
That's true.
So here's an idea. Why not make it a point over the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to say, I'm going to knock on every door, reach out to most everybody. I mean, there may be a few.
He's giving you a challenge, everyone.
There may be a few you say, I'm not so sure I want to do that. But and then go introduce yourself. I'm going to bet. In fact, I'd be almost certain you're going to find some things that are just really spectacular.
That's true.
That these other folks are doing. That there's some connections. You probably have people you know in common. You might learn some things about what's happening in town that you didn't know about. And I think it's just a lot of fun.
Well, I think, you know, that in a case like that, don't be afraid to knock on someone else's door. But, you know, it's not something we do today. So you're definitely giving people a challenge out there. It might not be a bad idea to get to know your neighbors, say hello, go for a walk and say hello and get to know them.
And as we say, share some positivity.
Yes, we love the positivity.
Which is why we always say here at the Sunshine Report, it's positive energy that inspires positive change, that produces positive results. So get out there, enjoy neighbors helping neighbors, go meet some of your neighbors, spread some joy and positivity.
Enjoy. It's a really fun part of life.